Was he going to say goodbye any other way? Like, quite literally, the kid that has made an identity of Vanderbilt football. Was he ever going to say goodbye in any other fashion than just straight up, unadulterated, unforgivingly, unfathomable flash and finesse? That's the Diego Pavia story, as Vanderbilt, 4 quarters away from a 10-win season. Got to go to Neyland, but they close out the year in First Bank Stadium. 45-17 victory, and we have got to discuss. Welcome on into the SEC Unfiltered postgame show. It's Cole Thompson here. Like the video, hit the ring notification. Dores Nation, college football fans, sickos of the Wildcats. Make sure that you go ahead and hit subscribe because we're closing in on 30,000 subs. Make sure you're following us on social media at SEC Unfiltered, me at Mr. Cole Thompson. And check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. As always, we are proudly brought to you by our friends over at FANDUEL. Go visit FANDUEL.com/SECU. Get started today with $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. The app is simple, free, easy to use. Sign up today, FANDUEL.com/SECU. Diego Pavia's story is not over yet. It's far from it when you think about what the impact it could mean to Vanderbilt to have a 10-win season, still be in the hunt for the college football playoff. But to go out the way he did at a place that bet on him to be the starting quarterback after winning at New Mexico State, bringing on in his offensive coordinator and his former head coach to really kind of stabilize this militant offensive personnel, and to do what he did today, I get it. It's Kentucky. Kentucky, it's no shot at you. You've been able to turn the corner, one of the hottest teams in the SEC, kind of to close out the month of November. Still, to do what they did today, to accomplish the type of performance, it speaks volume of what this moment meant to the quarterback who will ever be known as Mr. Vanderbilt, in my opinion. Again, what do we know about Vanderbilt football? They love to run it. They love to win time possession. They love to be able to trust their ground game, and they're not a penalized team. Well, today, they had the same amount of penalties as Kentucky. They did win the time of possession by nearly 15 minutes. They had 604 yards of offense. 539 came through the air. This was all about Diego Pavia making a statement on why he should be considered a favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. And I'll tell you what, at this point, he knows Broadway very well. The one in Nashville. He better know Broadway up in New York, because it will be a travesty if he is at least not invited to the event. Now, I don't think he's going to win the award right now, but other things have happened. Show on up, show on out the exact same way you did against Kentucky today, against Tennessee. All bets are off. But my goodness, what a way to go ahead and call it a day. 30 of 33 of 39. He had at one point completed 13 passes in a row. Dominated on all cylinders. Quick, decisive, easy throws. Not afraid to take the deep shots down the field. He averaged over 12.2 yards a pass. 6 total touchdowns on the day. And just for good measure, 484 yards through the air, 48 yards on the ground. The team's leading rusher, long of 21. That puts you at an over 500 total yards in your final game at First Bank Stadium. I mean, what more do you want to say? The reason why Vanderbilt has gotten to this point, the reason why the Commodores are even considered to be a playoff team or a rising roster in the SEC, why Jared Curtis is even considering looking at Vanderbilt as a potential option 5-star plus quarterback, is because of the impact that Diego Pavia had on this program. And all it takes is one person to alter the way that we view the identity of a roster and the way that a program could actually be deciphered in the public eye. And that's what number 2 did. Him and Eli Stowers and a few other players from New Mexico State came on in. You bring in Jerry Kill. You bring in Tim Beck. You bring in that identity that was working in the Conference USA level, and you start to gain momentum. Last season, it was all about building a foundation. Hey, you know what? We're going to beat Alabama in our backyard. We don't care if it's 98% Alabama fans. We're going to show on up and shut them down. Hey, Vandy, we haven't turned. That was the motto. You get a couple more wins. You beat the likes of Auburn. You're able to go ahead and hold your own to close out the year in the bowl game. You do a lot of good things. And then Pavia comes on back, and everyone kind of understands the assignment. But what's so interesting when it comes to the whole Diego Pavia conversation, and why I have so much appreciation for him, but more specifically, why I believe Vanderbilt has proven enough that they belong in the chatter for the college football playoff. Go back to July. Remember that interview with Paul Feinbaum and how he said, what are your goals at Vandy this year? I mean, it's got to be more than what you did last season. Oh, we want to win the national championship, be in the college football playoff, win an SEC title, and I want to win the Heisman Trophy. And everyone just kind of laughs it off and goes, okay, it's Vanderbilt. It's a fun story. and just the sternness on the face of a quarterback that quite literally can't even envision a world where he is losing. I don't know what's so funny. These are the goals that I have. These are the expectations that we've set inside the building. And you look back 5 months later, they're 4 quarters away from at least making the case. Now, the sad reality is that 10-2 is not guaranteed to get you in the college football playoff this year. It just isn't, especially when you have to look at giving an ACC team a nod and giving a group of 5 team a nod. You have to be inside the top 10. Now, here's the good news. There could be some upsets that are brewing over the next several weeks, the next several hours, or even next week, that will at least give an opportunity for Vanderbilt to make that push. Now, they got to close out the door. They got to be able to show on up against Tennessee in Neyland next week, which, again, rivalry game, all on the line. Who thought we'd ever live in a world where the Commodores would be the team that we're all paying attention to while Tennessee is trying to ruin their season? We don't even know what's going to happen tonight when they face off against Florida. Is there even going to be buy-in next week? I digress. You got to be able to show on up, but you're giving yourself an opportunity. And here's the reason why. Because there are some teams out there that right now are putting together performances and resumes that will say, listen, we won a lot of games against top 25 teams, therefore we belong on it. Then there are some teams that you say, okay, well, they're winning with flash and style. I mean, Notre Dame hung 70. Poor kids from the state of New York, or anyone who has to live in that area. It's already cold. It's already wet. It's already rainy. Nobody wants to deal with anything going on in Syracuse, and then you just mollywop them 70-0, where your quarterback is like 50 passing yards. Like, they're stat padding in every capacity to guarantee their spot in the playoff. But then you have to look at who is the most complete team. I think that's going to be an area to where most of the committee won't pay full attention, but they should. Vanderbilt, for 98% of the game, completely shut down Kentucky. Kentucky was 6 of 15 on third down. They were 1 third down. They had 1 third down completion going into the fourth quarter. They had under 220 total yards going into the fourth quarter. Cutter Boley had 2 interceptions. Really bad interceptions, in my opinion. They were averaging 5.8 yards a play. They held him to 31 rushing yards, which has been a strength of the team for most of the year. 3 turnovers. Helped a lot of 3 and outs. There's nothing to look at when you say, hey, Vanderbilt, what's kind of the question here? Well, they had a really, really, really rocky performance against so-and-so. Well, they did this really, really bad. Okay, and then they show on up in the biggest game of the season, at least to this point, and they continuously prove that, hey, while Kentucky's kind of turned the corner, yeah, that's not really an issue here. They're going to be good. And unfortunately, the reality sets on in. Diego Pavia was not going to play in the fourth quarter, as much as you would love to see him kind of stat pad his way in for a New York City Heisman Trophy. Because I'll tell you right now, there are many of voters that just look at the stats and they say, oh, Heisman Trophy winner. Oh, Heisman Trophy winner. Oh, plays for Vanderbilt? Yeah, I don't need to go ahead and consider him anyways. It's just a stupid school like Vandy. And they will literally do that. So you had to stat pad as much as possible. You knew it wasn't going to be the case. But he did enough in 3.5 quarters to kind of guarantee his spot of, hey, if I continue to play the way that I do to close out the year, you better at least invite me to the Big Apple. You better at least let me sit down inside of that Heisman Trophy presentation and shake hands with whoever is going to be the winner. That's just kind of what it is. So Vanderbilt gave you a 3.5 quarter domination performance, and they left no disregard on who they are as a program. They can win with a good defensive line. They are exceptional at times in press man coverage downfield. Defensively, Clarkley is making sure that his unit is delivering on all cylinders. And offensively, they can win through the air. They can win on the ground. They can win in comeback fashion. They can win in step man fashion. I mean, quite literally, look at their scoring drives to begin the first half. This is where it shows you the difference of the team. Field goal, touchdown, punt, touchdown, turnover on downs, which probably should have easily been a field goal. Touchdown, 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 interception to end the game. Like, that's where they were as a team. They delivered on all cylinders. Oh, and by the way, let's look at the stat sheet for a team like Kentucky. Punt, interception, field goal, end of half, punt, touchdown, interception, touchdown, end of game. Like, that was it. So you answered the call on both sides of the ball, and you delivered a performance that many people are going to remember. What I'm going to find interesting is last week, Miami jumped. Vanderbilt in the rankings because Vanderbilt was on a bye week. Well, Miami, they won today, but they had themselves a little bit of a scare at times, never really was able to pull away. Is this a game that we'll look back and say, well, now because we've seen Vanderbilt in their backs in sight and in mind, do they jump Miami? And if they do, how hard are they going to jump? Because Utah, they're still playing right now. Georgia Tech, who's actually ranked behind Vanderbilt, they're about to play right now. Florida, Tennessee, that could be a really interesting game. USC, Oregon, that's coming down to the wire. I don't know what the final score is at that game. So there's a lot of matchups that are currently presiding in college football today and then next week, to where if Vandy's able to just get close enough, let's say they get to like the 12th spot, BYU loses to Cincinnati tonight. They're not in, but all it takes is one or two more upsets, and there you are. And maybe Miami also gets to go to the Big Ten championship. The ACC championship. And if they go there, then that solves a problem where 11 of the spots are filled, or better yet, maybe even 10 of the spots are filled. Now, on to Kentucky, I won't spend a lot of time with them. It was not a good performance offensively. Defensively, they were a mess at times. Diego Pavia had 6 passes of over 20 yards downfield. You also got to remind yourself, this was not the game of Eli Stowers. Like, you figured, okay, we take away 9, we'll be in a pretty good spot, right? Well, 9 had, if I'm not mistaken, 6 catches for 36 yards and didn't find his way into the end zone. You would worry about the outside. Trey Richardson with 159 yards, 3 passes downfield of over 20. Junior Sherrill with 115 yards, 14.4 yards a catch, 1 big touchdown, including the 37-yard strike. They had no identity whatsoever when it came to the defensive side. And then offensively, they made Cutter Boley have to win this game. Like, they quite literally said, we're going to get rid of the rushing attack. We're going to make Cutter Boley have to impress. And there were some throws that he made right on the money, perfectly placed, everything that you want to see from a quarterback that you hope can be the guy long term. But it just was too little too late. You already knew the game was out of reach at this point. If you could even make this kind of close or interesting to close out the fourth quarter, you'll take it. You'll go back to Lexington, and hopefully you'll be better prepared when you take on Louisville. Now, for any of you who weren't paying attention to the ACC today, Louisville did not look good. Louisville was dreadful. They have been on a colossal slide to close out 2025. And this now should give a lot of optimism to a team like Kentucky, who, yes, let's just call it as is going to have their hands full, and it's going to be on the road, be at Papa John's Stadium or whatever the hell the place Louisville's called. I just still call it Papa John's Arena because that's what I remember it was when I was growing on up. It's going to be a tall task, but I'm not doubting as much anymore when it comes to Kentucky on winning this game. You win that one, you're in the bowl eligibility standpoint. Now, the Mark Stoops situation is going to be really interesting. You looked really, really good against Tennessee Tech. You beat Auburn. You beat the brakes off of a Florida team that has no life, but had major expectations to begin the year. Is it enough if you are to lose your last 2 games in blowout fashion to keep Mark Stoops around? Well, you got to ask yourself a couple of questions. The first one would be, do you believe you can hire a coach that is a better fit than Mark Stoops? If the answer is already no in this hiring cycle, you got to do what Baylor's doing. You got to do what Clemson's doing. You got to do what Maryland's doing. Hold out for another season. Let the buyout be a little cheaper. Come back next year and kind of land one of the premier names in college football. That would be my option. But if you do think there is an option out there, then by all means, go ahead and bring him on in. The second thing that you got to ask yourself is, do you believe that there can be anything resolved with Mark Stoops? Because Stoops, again, showed you in the win against Auburn, in the win against Florida, that he still buys into the program. He still believes that there can be things that are accomplished, that can be accomplished there. He's not ready to go ahead and wave the white flag and say, this is all I can do as a coach. So that's another thing that you're going to have to look into and say, well, I like this about him. Do I believe that he can fix the faults in the offseason that'll put us in a better spot for next year, where we have a 9-game conference schedule, where we are not guaranteed anything, where we may end up being worse than what we were this year, but the only thing that we're doing is saving more money in the buyout, and we're probably going to be one of the better schools that are available, because unless there is a colossal turnover of coaching carousel moves, then we probably can land at least a solid name at the G5 level, or maybe even a rising up-and-comer defensive or offensive coordinator for the SEC. Regardless, those are questions that Mitch Barnhart has got to answer. Those are some questions that you got to figure out. But if you win next week, it's kind of a moot point. I think that Mark Stoops should be back in 2026, because if you would have won 2 games in conference play, when many of us thought that you didn't have an opportunity to win a game in conference play, you are bowl eligible. You can finish the year at least 7-6 with a roster that had multiple faults. I mean, at one point, they were giving up over 400 total yards of offense to a team and had Zach Calzada, before he was flashing money, flashing turnovers left and right. Like, they have drastically changed the perception of them in the SEC up to this level. So I think if you win next week, that at least gives you an opportunity to kind of right the ship. If you lose next week and you're not bowl eligible, back-to-back years, you got to ask yourself, is this good enough? Are we okay for where we are right now? And if not, then you can make that move. Now back to Vanderbilt. It'll be really interesting to see how the playoff committee views this win, because of last week, apparently they viewed Miami's win over NC State like it was the second coming of college football Jesus. So again, do we feel that way about Kentucky, one of the hotter teams in the SEC? And let me ask you straight up, do you think that Kentucky would beat NC State at a neutral field? If that's the case, then I believe that you will see Vanderbilt make a jump into the standings and put themselves in a better position to go to the college football playoff. If not, well, then by all means, you got to leave no doubt when you go travel to Neyland. Here is the beauty of what a win like today does. You controlled what you can control. And that may not be what Vanderbilt fans want to hear. It's certainly not what I want to hear. I'm openly rooting for Vanderbilt to punch their ticket in the playoff, because I think it's good for college football to see a team with a quarterback like Diego Pavia to make a run. Even if they're out in the first round, at least you got there. But you can't get there at 9-3. You can get there at 10-2. You controlled what you were able to control, and you kind of silenced a lot of people that said, well, look at how well this Kentucky team is playing. Look at how well Kentucky has kind of turned the tide. Guess what? You shut them down completely. Inevitably, you made it basically a lopsided affair until we got to the fourth quarter, and they kind of called off the dogs by saying, Pavia, you're done. We don't need to see you drop another dime into the breadbasket. And by the way, he had several throws today that were right on the money. I'm not saying the NFL teams are going to be buying into it, but his one pass to Junior Sherrill back of the end zone, start of the third quarter, I mean, that was probably the best throw he's made of his career. Like, he left no doubt that I'm going down in history as arguably Vanderbilt's best quarterback, the face of Commodore football. Build the damn statue outside of First Bank Stadium, and let me go ahead and head on up to New York City for my Heisman Trophy presentation. And I may even win the damn thing if I show on out. It doesn't really matter if you make the college football playoff. It'd be great if you do. You controlled what you controlled today. And that's what you needed to do. And that was another step in the right direction to where now you have 4 quarters to figure things on out and hopefully pull off the upset in many people's eyes, because there will be people, including FanDuel, that will likely rank Tennessee the favorite in this matchup, despite the records, and be able to guarantee at least you're in the conversation come Sunday morning when they unveil the top 12 college football playoff selections. And if not, you go to a really damn good bowl game. It sucks, but that's kind of just the reality of where we are in college football. But you're 4 quarters away. And Diego Pavia, you had one hell of a goodbye to First Bank Stadium, a place that kind of helped your career. You kind of helped it. All right, we're going to end the live stream there. Like the video, hit the ring notification, follow along. That way we can keep up to date with the Florida-Tennessee matchup. And by the way, if you haven't already, go visit my friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel.com/SECU is the best place to go ahead and bank on you throwing down a little bit of cash on Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt to make the college football playoff and maybe win the Heisman Trophy altogether or the Maxwell Award. Whatever it is, go ahead, visit, throw down $5. You win that bet, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets simply by winning your first $5 bet. And this could be on anything, whether it be the NBA season, the NHL season. We got college basketball back in full swing. You can do same game parlays. You can do player props. You can do different hubs. It's all available on the app. It's free and easy to use. Now is the perfect time to sign on up, especially with the holidays right around the corner. Win yourself some money and win yourself some cash to go ahead and pay off some of those holiday gift items. The only way to do so is by visiting FanDuel.com/SECU, the official partner of betting with the NBA. Final score out in First Bank Stadium in the grand finale of the Diego Pavia era at the house that he built, or at least refurbished and made it his own. 45-17. The Dores knocking on the door for the college football playoff bid. The Wildcats win next week, and at least you're going to go to a bowl game. Can't really argue about those kind of results. I will see you guys after Tennessee and Florida. I have no idea if history will be made tonight or if another upset will be brewing in the world of college football. Until next time, guys, peace.